Hello and welcome back to another episode of Round the Table from the Meeting Point, broadcasting not only to Bilbao but throughout the world. And on this miserable looking weekend in Bilbao, let's have a look at this lovely slow TV background, a nostalgic view from last summer. In this programme we're talking about nostalgia. We have some quotes of the week, an amazing fact, some what's the difference questions, and a look at a typical pronunciation problem. We might even have another joke for you. But first, here is the news. As we approach the 12th week of the trimester, you'll be pleased to know that the new book is back from the printers with another 12 fascinating topics for the coming trimester, which, don't forget, begins before the Easter holidays. Sometime this weekend I will be recording a quick tour of the new book, which you will find if you go to our website www.meetingpointenglish.com, or you can go to our Facebook page and you'll see the video there of me going through the book to show you the kind of topics we'll be covering in the next trimester. Last night we had beer, wine, cheese, walnuts, etc. In the Meeting Point we had about 10 people sitting around the table having an informal chat and discussing progress so far. Great to see everybody. Thank you for all those people that came along. And one of the things I meant to discuss with the people last night, which I didn't discuss, is the future of this podcast. My plan was to do the podcast for one whole year. So, as you've noticed, this is episode 50, which means there's only a couple more episodes before I have to make a decision as to what we're going to do with the podcast. So if anybody's got any ideas, tell me what you like, what you don't like. Well, just tell me what you like. I'd much prefer that. Leave some comments down below and share it with people, because the more people like it, the more viewing time we get, the more likely I am to continue with it. Because at the moment it is using up a lot of my Saturday morning. In fact, all of my Saturday morning and most of the afternoon as well. So give me some feedback. I need to know what you all think. It might be that I just do one every fortnight, or I might do them once a month, or I might still continue doing them every week. I'm not sure at the moment. So let me know what you think. One more thing in the news, something I forgot last week. Last week's episode we were discussing humour and how it affected the language of sciences, etc. And there was one that I forgot in technology. Spam. The reason all those junk emails are called spam is because those early computer geeks, who were the first people swapping emails, were big fans of Monty Python. And if you Google Monty Python spam sketch, you will find out why spam is called spam. The topic this week was nostalgia. Many people have nostalgia for the past. Nostalgia is more than just a memory of the past. Even if we have fond memories of past times, they are often tinged with a little melancholy and a sense of loss of our youth and innocence, and a state that we can never return to. An evocative smell or a piece of music can cast our minds back to a time and a place in a long distant past, a time of endless carefree summers or family gatherings with long lost loved ones. We often view the past through rose-tinted spectacles, which enable us to filter out the worst parts and the long hours of boredom, leaving us with a sense that the past was a place full of happiness, innocence and adventure. As we get older, we often get more nostalgic for the past. Some older people find it difficult to deal with the modern world, and for them the past is a place where they are more comfortable a place they understand. And as we age, we have more to feel nostalgic about, as we have more years behind us than ahead of us. But the sharing of stories by elderly relatives should not be seen as an ordeal that the listener has to suffer. Nostalgia can be a mine of information, full of the details of everyday life and those personal moments that will never be recorded by the history books. Even tragic events of the past, such as times of war, can be viewed with nostalgia, not for the hardship and trauma that we suffered, but for the people it made us, the unifying sense of fellowship and equality in the face of adversity, what in Britain is still referred to as the Dunkirk spirit. There are some amongst us who long for an imagined golden age in their country's past. This idealising of the past can give rise to nationalistic tendencies and a leaning towards certain political ideologies and a desire to make their country great again. And as they look around at the unwelcome changes to the world they once knew, trying to find a scapegoat to point the finger at, to blame for all their problems and disappointments, it's hard to believe that for someone, someday, we are now living in the good old days. Now it's time for Quote of the Week. Here's your first one by Owens Lee Pomeroy. Don't know who he is, but he had a great quote here, which is very clever, I think. Nostalgia is like a grammar lesson. You find the present tense and the past perfect. Very clever quote, I think. And here's another one which is very true. Nostalgia is a beautiful place for the mind to wander, but a dangerous place to stay. That is by Anon. That means anonymous, okay? Lots of people have been asking this week who this Anon character is, because he wrote a lot of the quotes in the book. It means anonymous. And now here's an amazing fact. Keep calm and carry on. Somebody asked me where this phrase comes from, because there are lots of things. If you visit London, you can find mugs and posters and tea towels and all kinds of things with this phrase, keep calm and carry on, or keep calm and make tea, or keep calm and something. Well, I was looking into the origins of it, and apparently there was a poster back in 1939 to boost morale in the face of expected wartime crisis in the early part of the Second World War. And it was never widely distributed, so it wasn't seen by many people back in those days, but around about the year 2000 it was rediscovered, and it was a very simple message, and it caught on and became an iconic symbol of British resilience. So there you go, that's where that phrase comes from, for those that want to know. Here's an old favourite from the archives of What's the Difference? Remember and remind. Now, remember is something that you do in your head when you think about the things of the past, or you think about something you have to do, like buying the bread, etc. Remind is to cause somebody to remember. So if I tell you about something that you did a long time ago, I am reminding you. Or if I tell you, don't forget to buy some bread, I'm reminding you. Or even if you write a shopping list, that is a reminder, so that you don't forget anything. So remind is to make someone remember. The next one is memories, memoirs. Memoirs. Yes, memoirs sounds very French. That means it's more sophisticated than memories. Everybody has memories. Your memoirs are things you write in a book. And normally, people that write books about their interesting lives are normally quite important people. So, hence the fact that we often use this French-sounding word memoirs. And I encourage everybody to write some sort of memoirs. It doesn't have to be important, because as I was saying earlier about nostalgia for the past, it's the everyday details that are often forgotten, and even people that have fairly normal lives. It might be interesting to some people out there. We don't have to read about the lives of the rich and famous all the time. Normal people are just as interesting. The next one is assist and attend. Assist actually means help. That's why you have shop assistants when you go to a shop. Attend is when you come to class, for example. Oh, in actual fact, it can be something like help as well, can't it? Because you have flight attendants. They attend you. Yes, so they can be quite similar. But the one when it's different is when you attend your class, when you come to class. If you're sending a WhatsApp message to your teacher to say you're not coming to class, say, I cannot attend class today. Don't say, I cannot assist. It's a false friend. So they can both be used in a sort of helping way as well. The next one that came up this week is the difference between a lifeguard and a bodyguard. I don't know why we were talking about this for nostalgia, but strange things happen in conversations. A lifeguard, a bodyguard. A lifeguard is the person at the swimming pool or on the beach. They usually save you when you're in trouble in the water, when you're drowning. A bodyguard is like a security person that goes with a famous person. If the president is visiting another country, he might go with lots of bodyguards, depending how important the president is. So politicians often have bodyguards, which is a strange thing, really, that they need defending from the people of the country. How sad. Another one that came up in conversation, expelled and sent off. We were talking football for some reason. It's one of those subjects that often appears in conversation. If a football player is shown the red card, as we say, shown the red card, he is sent off. Expelled is when you have to leave school because of your bad behaviour. You are expelled from school. And yes, we must have been talking about schools under the topic of nostalgia, because we were talking also the difference between notes and marks and grades in your work that you do in school. Usually you're given marks, okay? You get your marks out of 10, for example. It might be a percentage, or it might be you scored 24 out of 30 or something like that. A grade is normally A, B, C, D, when they give a letter corresponding to how well you did in a test. That's normally the grade. Note is not really used in this context. A note is a musical thing. That is a note. That is an E. Or it can be a little message that you write on a piece of paper, like to remind yourself. So we go back to reminding, so you don't forget to buy some bread. You might write a note. So those are the what's the difference for this week. So let's move on to a pronunciation problem. Some words in English end in a B, a B. For some people, if you come from a language where you don't have words that end in a B, it's often very difficult to do. So, for example, here in Bilbao, there are many words that begin with a B. Some words have a B in the middle, and people don't have a problem with it. But in Spanish, I don't think there are any words that end in a B, because people always seem to have a problem with it. So a word like pub. Pub, it's a very simple word, but most people say something like puff, because the U is also a problem for a lot of people here. So they're only really pronouncing the P correctly. So it's a P at the beginning, which is easy. Then it goes and then it goes B at the end. So the word is pub. Pub. Not puff, paff, or anything like that. Pub. Disturb. 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 Wardrobe. Wardrobe. A lot of people say something like wardrobe. People have a problem with that B there. Job. Job is another problematic one because it also has a J at the beginning, which people don't like. People often say something like yoff, something like that. J at the beginning and B at the end. Job. Job. And finally, globe. Globe. Not to be confused with glove that you wear on your hand. Globe. Globe. I have a memory of an elephant. Last week I went to the zoo and I saw an elephant. Well, that's all we have time for this week. I have to rush off and make another video all about the new book, which will hopefully be in your hands in 2 weeks' time. Next week is week 12 of the trimester, so the following week will be beginning the final trimester of the year. So I hope all our members will be continuing for more fascinating and entertaining conversations. And for those of you listening that are not members of the Meeting Point, I hope you enjoyed this program. Please leave a message down below. Tell me where you're listening from. That would be very interesting for me. And, well, have a good week. Till next week. Bye.